Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to talk about a proposal made by some of the Democratic candidates, wealth tax. Or I suppose we could call it the Warren wealth tax, since she was the first one to propose it and she's the one who has really been pushing for one. But I do believe that some of the other candidates, the Democratic presidential candidates, have jumped on the bandwagon and they're supporting a wealth tax too. I want to ultimately talk about why such a tax is being proposed for the first time I can remember at all. Why is the tax being proposed? But first I just want to mention that this tax is probably unconstitutional because it's not really a tax. It's a taking. It's a taking of property. In this country, when you pay federal income tax, and the only reason we have a federal income tax is because we amended the Constitution. Now, the states have income taxes and the states have property taxes, but the states have police powers. But the federal government is a different story. They do not have police powers. When we're talking about federal taxes, once you pay taxes on your income, then the rest of the income, whatever's left, that's no longer income. That's your property. You own that. That is yours. The government cannot make a distinction between, if you have property in the form of a house or a car or a bar of gold or in the form of cash, a big stack of dollar bills or whatever, that's all property. The government cannot just come in and just seize it. So I'm sure that such a law, if one could ever even be enacted, would be shot down. Now others can disagree with me, but that's what the comment section below this video is for. So feel free to weigh in, especially if you're a constitutional lawyer. But the main point that I want to get to is, why are the Democrats proposing such a tax in the first place? We never had one before. And, well, a logical question to ask is that if the government wants more money, then just raise the income tax. Raise the income tax to try to get money that way. And I think the reason why the Democrats are not proposing that is because there are ways to avoid income tax. That is the problem with high taxes. There were times in our history when we had up to a 90% income tax rate for high incomes, but there were so many loopholes and so many ways to avoid paying the tax that it made sense for high net worth individuals, of which I unfortunately am not one, to hire high-priced consultants, lawyers and accountants to figure a way to avoid the tax. That's the problem, that when you have a high tax rate, you really do not collect any more tax. And if you look at a historical table, which I have done, of the tax rates compared to the revenues, and you will find that there were some years where you had a high tax rate and the revenues collected in a following year were down, less than the year before. There have been other times when we've had low rates and the amount of money collected has gone up. But I'm straying off here, as I so often do, so get back on track. If you have property, if you have money sitting in a bank, then I suppose it's easier to seize. But I think, number one, I could be wrong about that, actually, but I think that's one of the reasons. But another reason is class warfare, to make poor people, or people like me, just regular middle income people, feel better about paying what we have to pay and being in our economic situations, as long as we know that somebody else, some rich person, is getting taxed more. Doesn't benefit us at all, but it's supposed to make us feel better. Does not make me feel better. I've never been jealous of people who make more money than I do. I've just aspired to make more money myself. unfortunately without much success, but that was the idea. But now I want to get to the main reason why you have Liz Warren and other Democratic presidential candidates proposing a wealth tax. And this takes us to the famous statement by Margaret Thatcher that the problem with socialism is that sooner or later you run out of other people's money. That's what fuels socialism, the ability of the government to seize wealth or to tax it, because socialism as an economic system, it's a failure. It doesn't produce income. Look at Venezuela, look at Cuba, look at any socialist country, and you see that those countries are not rich. The idea that Scandinavian countries such as Sweden are socialists, that's wrong. They gave up that system a long time ago, precisely for the reasons that I just mentioned, because it doesn't work. People do not get rich. You do not have a thriving economy under socialism. What Sweden does have, and Denmark and these other Scandinavian countries, they have a large welfare state. People are taxed at a high rate, and I'm not talking about the rich. I'm talking about the middle income, everybody. I have a friend who lives in Germany and she pays a high rate. You think it's bad that we have these tax brackets in the United States. If you make so much money, I don't know, $15,000, you pay this rate up to $15,000, and then if you make up to $20,000, then it's a different rate. I don't know what the tables are going to be this in the next tax year. That's the idea. But in Germany, at least the last time I read, they have it's just a straight slope. If you make 20,000 euros a year, you pay one rate. If you make 21,000 euros a year, you pay another rate. 22,000 euros a year, another rate. Not just more taxes, and not just that if you made more money, you pay more money at a specific rate. The rate itself goes up. That's obviously not going to fly in this country, but the problem is our Democratic friends, they want to have all these social programs, and they have run out of other people's money, and they were just looking for another way to get money. They want more money. They don't know where to get it, because raising the rates apparently is not going to work. Or they could do both, raise the rates and have a wealth tax. But think about that, because as I said, property is property. So if they can seize money, then they can seize anything to finance the government. You have no private property anymore. The government, the federal government, can just take whatever they want once you set that principle in place. So that's why I think it's unconstitutional. But the main point is that Democratic programs, they don't work. And this is my problem with Donald Trump, because he doesn't realize that, or he refuses to acknowledge that Social Security and Medicare, all these programs are going to fail if they are not reformed, especially Social Security. You have to let a younger generation invest part of their Social Security money into a personal account that they keep. You cannot just keep paying taxes, well, unless you have suddenly an exploding birth rate. In fact, I'm going to do another video on this one of these days. If you watch the first Democratic presidential debate, you'll remember that they all raised their hand to provide free health care to illegal immigrants. So that's got to be paid for somehow, and free college education, and wiping out all the debt that currently exists. All that stuff costs money. Where do you get it? The Democrats realize that you're not going to be able to get it just by raising income taxes. They're running out of other people's money. They don't want to do what, well, fairness to Bernie Sanders, he did acknowledge that if the Democrats are going to put their policies into practice that everybody's taxes has to go up, middle income people too, which is exactly the system in Denmark and Sweden and other Scandinavian countries. That's how they finance their system. That's number one. Number two, they're affluent societies. That may be changing though with their immigration problem that they have. They're importing a lot of people who don't have any real marketable skills, and they're just a drain on the country. Just as another point that Democrats refuse to acknowledge is that, yes, immigrants that come to America, they contribute to society, they contribute to the wealth of the country, they work hard, so on and so forth. But that applies to only 1/3 of immigrants. 2/3 of immigrants are on some form of public assistance. So they don't acknowledge that. My only point is all that stuff has to be paid for. The Democrats are just scrounging around to find a way to get the money, and that's all that this wealth tax is about, except for the class warfare, which is supposed to make us feel good when our taxes go up, when the middle income taxes go up, as Bernie Sanders frankly admitted. Our taxes will go up, but we'll say the rich people, their taxes are going up even more. Doesn't make me feel good, but if it makes you feel good, well, you're probably a liberal Democrat then. So thanks for stopping by, including all you liberal Democrats. I love to see you again. Bring more liberal Democrats with you. And if you have any conservative friends, as I have a lot of liberal friends. I lived in New York for 40 years. If I didn't have liberal friends, I would not have any friends at all, just about, except for one or two. So that's it. I'm going to take off now. Thanks for stopping by again. See you all. Oh, thumbs up if you liked the video. Almost forgot. And subscribe. I guess that takes care of everything. See you all again soon. Bye.